Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Kanika Tandon and I'm here with a video of Class 8th English 2nd. In today's video, in our last video, we have started the explanation part of chapter number 7, the prize poem, and today we are going to continue with that explanation part. Starting our today's video with a quick review of what we learned in the last chapter. Is this chapter, which is chapter number 7, the prize poem, is actually about a competition that is about to take place in a school called St. Austin's College, in which a very rich person of that particular place has organized a poem writing competition and might give money as the reward, and the principal has suggested a topic about that have suggested a topic for that poem competition, which is the college and the college days. So this story is about starting with a student named Reynolds, who is actually in the hospital because of some disease, which is measles. He is recovering from, and gets visited by his friend, whose name is Smith, and he tells him about the poem competition, for which he is actually very much ready to take part. But as he is in the hospital, he cannot basically take part. So he actually says to actually Reynolds suggests him that he can write a poem under the name of Smith, and if he gets the prize, he will have to tell the principal that the poem is actually written by Reynolds. So what happens? He starts to write and he had written 4 lines, but because of some air that came passed by, all the papers flew off the hospital and it was found in the garden. So this boy, whose name was Montgomery, actually found that paper and brought it in the room and started to write more of the lines, started to add more lines into that poem for the prize competition. Let us read further what happened. Okay, so this Montgomery was the kid who brought the papers from the garden to his home. 2 more and it would be a poem and capable of being entered for the prize as such. Now he's saying that 2 more lines, if I add, it will be enough for giving in the competition. The words imposing piles with which the fragment in his hand began took his fancy immensely, and in less than 3 hours he added the necessary couplets. So now what happened? He actually took only 3 hours to add 2 or 3 more lines of rhyming words into that poem which Reynolds wrote. 2 nights afterwards, Morrison, also of the 6th, was enjoying his usual during prep siesta in his study. A tap at the door roused him. Hastily sneezing a lexicon, he assumed the attitude of the seeker after knowledge and said, "Come in." It was not the housemaster but Evans, who entered with pride on his face and a piece of paper in his hand. Now what happened? After 2 more nights, another boy whose name was Morris, who was actually sleeping in his study time in his room, and as soon as he heard the knock, he got very scared, because he was scared of the housemaster to come, because it was his study time and he was sleeping in his room. So he got scared because he thought that it is the housemaster, but there was no housemaster. He was his friend, whose name was Evans. And Evans, as entered the room, was very much proud of entering, because he thought that he would be helping him, which made him proud. "I say," he began, You remember you told me to hunt up some tags for the poem. Will this do? Morrison took the paper with a judicial air. On it were the words. And now what happened? Evans told Morrison that you asked me to bring some of the lines for the poem and I have bought. Will these work? And he handed over the paper to Morris. And the lines written on that paper was: imposing pile reared up midst pleasant grounds, the scene of many a battle lost or won. At cricket or at football, whose red walls full many a sun has kissed, a day is done. And these are the lines that were written by whom? Reynolds, and he had found a paper lying on the ground. That's ripping as far as it goes, said Morrison. Couldn't be better. You'll find some apples in the box. Better take a few. But look here, with sudden suspicion, I don't believe you made this all up yourself, did you? So now the lines were actually excellent according to Morris, and as Evans gave him the lines, he actually offered him some apples, and he was very eager to take the apples. You'll know why, but he was not sure whether he had written those lines, so he asked him that where did he find the lines from. Evans finished selecting the apples before venturing on a reply. Then he blushed as much as a member of the junior school is capable of blushing. And now what happened? Evans is not Morris's classmate. Evans is actually a junior to him. That's why he had ordered to do something on behalf of him. So now Evans was actually finishing to select the apples, but he did not reply to Morris, and he smiled as much as he could in front of a senior. Well, he said, I didn't exactly. You see, you only told me to get the lines. You didn't say how. So this was a very normal question. You did not ask me how I'll write the how I write the lines. You just told me to get some. Don't know, but how did you get hold of these? Whose it is? Then Morris asked him that where did you get it from? Don't know, I found it in the field between the pavilion and the infirmary, which is the hospital. Oh well, it does not matter much. They are just what I wanted, which is great thing. Thanks. Shut the door, will you? Whereupon Evans retired, the richer by many apple, and Morrison resumed his siesta at the point where he had left off. And now what happened? He was happy to get the lines. He told him to go out of the room and shut the door, and Evans was happy because he got the apples, and Morrison was happy because he got the poem, and he started to sleep again in the prep time. Got the poem done yet? Said Smith to Reynolds, pouring out a cup of tea from the invalid on the following Sunday. Only the first verse, I'm afraid. But look here, you aren't keen on getting the prize. Why not send only the one verse? It will make fairly decent poem. He was like, Smith comes again to meet Reynolds, and he asked him whether he has completed the poem or not. So he said that I have completed only first paragraph, and since you were not so much keen of getting the prize, you can actually send this in. Think the Olden will pass it? He'll have to. There's nothing in the rules about the length. Here it is for you if you want. Thanks, I suppose it will be all right. So long, I must be off. Now he has actually submitted it because there was no any time length limit for writing the poem. The headmaster, known to the world as the Reverend Arthur James Percival, M.A., and to the school as the Olden, was sitting at the breakfast, stirring his coffee with the look of marked perplexity upon his dignified face. Now what happened? The name of the principal was Reverend Arthur James Percival, M.A. He was known this to the people, and the school children would call him the Olden. He was sitting in his office having his coffee. This was not caused by the coffee, which was excellent, but by a letter which he held in his left hand. Now what happened, he was actually sitting with a very um tensed face, and this was not because of the coffee, because of a letter that he had received from the he had received. "My dear," said he suddenly. Mrs. Percival started violently. She had been sketching out in her mind a little dinner, and wondering whether the cook would be equal to it. "Yes," she said, "my dear, this is a very extraordinary communication, exceedingly so." "Yes, very." "Who is it from?" he asked. From whom he has received this letter?" Mr. Percival shuddered. He was um, purist in speech. From whom you should say." "It is from Mr. Wells, a great college friend of mine. I submitted to him for examination the poems he sent in for the sixth form prize. This is his letter." And now what happened, Mr. Percival, who was the principal, actually sent all the poem um, to Mr. Wells, who was a great college friend of his, to actually examine the poem. And he had actually replied to the principal with a letter. "Dear Jimmy, the most taking part of the whole program was afforded by three comedians whose effort I enclose. You will notice that each begins with exactly the same four lines. There is a reckless daring about it which is simply fascinating. The rest of the letter is on the different matters." And now what happened, he actually explained himself to the principal that how he felt by looking at the poem results, because he was actually very amazed by three comedians. And who were these three comedians? They were Smith, Morrison, and Montgomery. Why? Because all of the four lines of these three poems were actually the same, exactly the same. I mean, James, how extraordinary! And now this principal is actually very much amazed by looking at it. So I'll be teaching this chapter till here only, because it is a very long chapter, and I'll be teaching it in parts. I'll complete the chapter in my next video. Till then, take care and keep studying. Thank you.